Now to a story that we have been tracking since day one, the lab leak theory. Did the Wuhan virus come from a laboratory? And there's new evidence for the world to consider now, and this cannot be dismissed as a mere rumor. It comes from the files of the US intelligence community. An American newspaper has published the findings, and this is what it says. In November 2019, 3 researchers in China fell sick. All 3 of them worked at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the same Wuhan laboratory that is at the center of this controversy. Now, all of these 3 researchers from this lab had to be admitted to hospital. And this is around the same time when the outbreak is said to have begun. Like I said, these are the findings of the US intelligence. It is part of a report that has not been shared by the US government with the public. But this is not the first time that we've heard of something like this. Remember, during the Trump administration last year, the US State Department had issued a fact sheet. It claimed that several Chinese researchers in the Wuhan Institute of Virology fell sick in the autumn of 2019, and that they showed symptoms consistent with the Wuhan virus. And now this new report says pretty much the same thing. Why is this significant? Look at the timing. China reported its first case of the Wuhan virus on the 8th of December 2019. These researchers were allegedly hospitalized just before that. And this is significant for 2 reasons. Number one, this finding suggests that the virus was in circulation well before December. And number 2, if the virus was spreading before December, then the Wuhan wet market cannot be called the original epicenter of the pandemic. And both of these suspicions are shared by investigators who went to Wuhan. I'm talking about the WHO team, those investigators, the ones who gave their report earlier this year in fact. They went to Wuhan and they expressed the same views. As for China, of course, it denies all of these claims.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, issued a relevant statement on March 23rd this year. It stated that before December 30, 2019, coronavirus was not contracted at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Until now, there has been 0 infection of staff and postgraduate students at the institute.
So if nobody fell ill at the Wuhan lab, why is China not sharing data from there? What is it hiding in this lab? Remember, the WHO team had asked for raw data from the Wuhan laboratory and China refused. What specifically did the WHO ask for? Safety logs and lab records of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Data that specifically talks about its extensive research on coronaviruses in bats. The Wuhan lab had collected samples and conducted studies, and that's where the suspicion rises. America's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says that he's not convinced that the virus is natural and that he does not rule out a lab leak. Fauci and several scientists have once again called for a new investigation.
No, I'm not convinced about that. I think that we should continue to investigate what went on in China until we find out, to the best of our ability, exactly what happened. Certainly, the people who've investigated say it likely was the emergence from an animal reservoir that then infected individuals, but it could have been something else, and we need to find that out.
This is interesting because Dr. Fauci himself is under fire for his alleged links with this lab, the Wuhan lab. Recently, he was grilled by an American lawmaker. That's because American grant money ended up sponsoring research at the Wuhan laboratory. And this was something that Fauci had authorized. Reports say that America's National Institute of Health, NIH, gave more than $3 million over 6 years to an organization called the EcoHealth Alliance. The funding was to study different coronaviruses from bats. And reports say out of the $3.7 million for this research, EcoHealth Alliance gave $600,000 to the Wuhan laboratory, the one in China. And Dr. Fauci was asked if this funding was for the gain of function research, meaning the kind of research where you deliberately create dangerous variants of viruses. And Fauci denied all of this. And now he says that he's not convinced that the virus is natural. This lab theory has been extremely controversial. There is no proof yet, but it keeps coming back to life. Remember, the WHO team had dismissed it outright. But in a rare act of dissent, WHO Director General Dr. Tedros refused to accept that conclusion. And he said that more research was needed to dismiss the lab theory. So it seems that everyone agrees that more research and more investigation is needed into this. The question is, who is going to do it? WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.